Well, Aurora, do you want to tell them what we're doing?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. So we're gonna do sort of just talking.
We're doing a video podcast.
Video podcast. Okay.
Today is January 15th.
It
It is about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
We are driving home right now from ballet class, where the twins take ballet. They take ballet twice a week right now, 2 hours a class, and it is about 35 minutes to home. So we're gonna drive home right now and film this little video for you. So welcome to our channel if you've never been on our video channel before. This is my daughter Aurora. As you can see, she looks very beautiful. She just got new glasses this week, so that's a new thing in our family. And also, both of my girls, this is Giselle, my other daughter, they're twins, which you might not know if you haven't already watched our channel. Both of my daughters have had long hair for a long time.
Okay. Last time I got it cut short was when I was like, I want to say 5. Or younger, but young.
Yeah. Well, you were probably almost 5. I cut both of your hair to about chin length. But then since then, Aurora's really only ever had trims. But now show them how it's you
really
can tilt the camera a little bit so that they can see you better than me. See, they got their haircut very short, and so did Giselle. Giselle, will you show her your hair? She has pretty much the same haircut, but the difference is that their texture is showing up so differently. Aurora's hair is so much straighter, and Giselle's hair is so much curlier. It's crazy. It's so funny that, like, my girls are twins, but I remember when they were younger and the doctor, we were not sure when they were born if they were fraternal or sororal, if they were identical. Sororal is the girl word for fraternal. So, like, a fraternal twin means that they're, like, not identical, but sororal is, like, fraternal means brothers. So these are sisters. So that's sororal.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? That's why I always tease you about it. I don't even know if that's really the right term to use, but I have a friend who told me that, and she used to teach anatomy at the college, so I assumed she knew what she was talking about. Anyway, yes, so the doctor told me when they were born, when I had the twins, that if we could either do a test and they could genetically test to see if the twins were identical or fraternal, sororal, or we could just wait and see if they looked more different as they got older. And it turns out that yes, they have looked quite different as they've gotten older.
Wait a minute.
Can you, like, keep this from going directly on my face? Because I feel like it's just sliding and sliding and sliding.
Okay,
so
wait a minute. So you might be identical and maybe.
You're not identical. You have different color eyes. There's no way you're identical if you have different color eyes. There's no way.
Hey, genetics is a weird thing, man.
No, genetics are not that weird. Like, genetics basically tell you then that you're definitely not identical. Anyway, so yeah, when they were little, one time Zelly was, like, in love with her Grammy, who had short curly hair, and the girls always had long hair, and she kept begging me to cut her hair short, and one day I just was like, fine, get over here, and I just cut her hair. Once again, the camera's just tilting towards me and you guys are not in it. Can you, like, put something behind it so that it's not doing that? There we go.
Wait, no,
Maybe
that's worse. That didn't do it.
Anyway, so I just cut Giselle's hair, and Aurora that day, I remember, was like, nope, I am not, no, So for, like,
because long hair was
months,
the cool thing.
Yeah. For maybe, like, 3 months of their lives, Aurora had, like, long hair below her shoulders, and Giselle had short hair. I mean, like a pixie, like real short when they were about 3. And then it gradually grew out, and then I was tired of having two different girls. I wanted them to be matchy because they were twins. So when Giselle's hair got to about here, I cut both of them into a little bob. But then since then, we have just continually trimmed their hair and let it grow, and this is the first time we've cut it off. But it feels like a big change because Aurora got glasses and cut her hair off all in the same week, and she just looks so much older than me right now. Anyway, so we're doing this podcast. What else is going on in the world, girls? Or in our lives? You tell me. What do you want to talk about for the next 30 minutes while we drive home?
Well, okay. Let me think.
We're thinking.
You thinking?
Yeah.
Thinking. I'm gonna make small talk.
Well, I just listened to a really good podcast by my friend Delight, who makes a podcast, Delight in August. It's called It's a Good Day Podcast, and she was interviewing my good friend Elizabeth Crump. And at the end of that podcast, she was talking about, like, how she does devotions. Like, she was explaining what devotions looks like for her. So why don't you girls, what does devotions look like for you girls? Zelly, if we're going to hear you, you're going to have to lean into the space and talk loud.
Hello. I should probably do it more frequently than I do it. But
Well, everybody would say that.
when I do it, it's, I usually, like, I'm not going through a plan, I would say. I just flip open the Bible to, like, wherever I feel led to.
Mm-hmm.
And I read, like, a chapter or two until something sticks out. And then I would write that passage that stuck out into my journal. And then just kind of meditate on it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is more how I do it, yeah.
The way I do it, okay, half the time, half and half. Half the time, I actually have, like, a plan I'm working through right now. And what I usually do is, half the time I, like, just read the plan and answer the little questions. And
You mean like it's like a little passage of the Bible tells you what to read?
Yep. It's just, like, boring. I mean, well, not boring. I shouldn't say boring.
Like basic?
Basic. I just, read it, answer questions, not a big deal. And then I journal a whole bunch and talk to God. But then, like, the other half of the time, I, like, read the thing and then get, like, tracked off on some side note to some other thing, and I'm like, what the heck? And then I talk to God about that.
Wait a minute, like you mean you're reading the Bible and then something distracts you and you're not reading the Bible?
No. Something like,
in the Bible interests you and you start thinking more about
when I
that.
start thinking more about that, yeah. So, like, half the time I just do a little plan and then I talk to God about my life. And then half the time I read the thing and get interested and then talk to God about that. Whatever.
So, is your reading plan, you're doing Search the Scriptures right now, right?
Yep.
Search the Scriptures is this, I think, pretty old book where it's like it basically gives you a through the Bible, like you read a little passage and then there's like 3 little questions to answer about the passage you're reading, and then when you're done reading the whole Search the Scriptures, you've gone through the whole Bible, right? Yeah. So that's what she's doing right now.
Yeah.
So you're saying sometimes you're doing it and it's like, there was nothing really amazing in it and you just do it and then pray, and other times you're reading it and it's like really interesting and fascinating. Yep, that's pretty normal.
And the times where I, like, get something interesting, I don't always, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be telling you this because technically,
it's fine.
the times when I get interested in one thing, I, like, write about that and, like, think about that, and I don't usually answer the question, but the times when I don't get interested in anything, I, like, answer all the questions, right? And maybe I should be answering all the questions.
No, I know what you mean though. Like, but do you know what? I think that when it comes to doing Bible study, I feel like the whole point of a devotional or something is to get you to connect with God. And so, like, if you're doing it and it brings you into the Lord's presence, or it brings you into a place where He's teaching you something, it's not like you're like, oh, I learned something from God, but, like, I didn't finish my study. Like, no. It's about, like, connecting with the Lord and learning from Him. And I feel like the days where we actually connect with Him and hear from Him are better than the days, oh no, I guess I don't need to turn there, are better than the days that we don't, even if we don't finish our Bible study. I am right in front of our friends Katie, so I'm going to slow down for a second and wave to them. I noticed them coming up behind me when we were back there a little ways. Anyway, Giselle, wait, did you say you are doing, like, a plan?
Yes and no.
Okay, what was your plan again?
I should be working through a book called, by Beth Moore, like, Hearing the Spirit or something.
Oh, it's not by Beth Moore.
Isn't it?
I think it's Mark Verkler, called Hearing the Voice of the Lord.
Yes. Yeah. That.
Okay. And you haven't really been going through that very much?
No.
So what do you do when you do devotions?
I told you.
Well, tell me again, more explicitly.
Okay, I just flip open to the Bible to like whatever I feel like to that day. Like sometimes I'll be like, I'm gonna read Ezekiel, or a while ago I read all of Revelations in one sitting. Like just whatever I feel, I read it until something sticks out to me, and then I take that stick out verse and write it down in my notebook, and then meditate on it and like pray and talk to God. Then usually after I have that, I'll like try and like I'll write out like a prayer and then see if I can like then I'll write what I think God is saying to me.
Yep.
So like it'll be like a back and forth conversation then until close and done.
That's not a terrible way. I mean, like, obviously your goal is to connect with the Lord. So you're going to the scriptures to connect with the Lord. The only thing that I would say you should watch out a little bit for is sometimes it's really easy to, like, avoid the parts of scripture that you don't want to read. Like, I don't really want to read in Leviticus, and I don't really feel like reading Hosea. Like, it's really easy to stick to the places where, like, oh, this feels familiar. Like, reading in Isaiah, this feels like, yes, this is comfortable to me. Or reading in the New Testament, or reading the book of Genesis. Like, those comfortable places you can tend to keep going to. And sometimes you kind of don't even realize where your blind spots are, because, like, you don't even know how long it's been since you read the book of James. You know what I mean? So if I were you and you're going to do that, I would suggest, instead of just flipping up where you want to read, I would suggest having, like, a Bible reading plan or something. And I've done this before where, like, I have a Bible reading plan and I, like, start reading wherever I left off yesterday. Like, I'm not saying today I have to read this. It's more like wherever I left off in the Bible yesterday, I put my bookmark there, and then today I pick up and I start reading. And then I start reading at that part until something resonates in me that the Spirit of the Lord is like, I'm connecting with the Spirit of the Lord here. Sometimes it's like only a paragraph. Sometimes it's a full chapter. Sometimes, yeah, it's a full book. But then, wherever I meet the Lord there, interact with the Lord, listen to Him, and then leave your bookmark there and start there again tomorrow. Start at that spot tomorrow. Because that way, and sometimes you can have two bookmarks. Like, maybe one is in the Old Testament and one is in the New. So today I finished with the book of Esther, so tomorrow I would start with Job. But I have a second bookmark, so tomorrow I'm going to read out of the New Testament for a while. Does that make sense? And then the next day come back to the Old Testament. But you're going through, you're not going to skip or, like, just jump around. You are, like, purposing to go through and not skip anything. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Yeah. That does work. Yeah. I do for my Bible study. I've been doing, like, I've done a lot of different things. I don't really love doing, like, a devotional book. I feel like I would rather just read the scriptures for myself than, like, reading somebody else's teaching. But right now I'm teaching a Sunday school class that is, like, a curriculum by Ray Vander Laan, who's a really knowledgeable Bible historian, and he, like, preparing for his Bible studies has made me so that I am studying the Bible more for myself. And because I'm, like, teaching a Bible study on Sundays, I feel like I heard somebody said, like Bill Johnson says, what feeds me feeds my flock, because, you know, he's a pastor and he teaches, and he basically teaches that, like, when you are just studying the scriptures so that you can tell everybody else what it says, it's usually not very powerful. But if you get fed by the word of the Lord, and then you take that out to other people and be like, this is what the Lord is teaching me right now, usually that's a lot more powerful. And so when I'm preparing for Sunday morning, I do all of the prep that curriculum wants me to do, but also I, like, press into it and, like, try to really keep studying and meditating on the things in that curriculum all week until something really, like, feels like it came alive to me, or, like, enlightens me or encourages my faith. and then that helps me really prepare what I'm going to take that week. And so in a lot of ways, that's like one of the biggest things I'm doing for devotions these days, is just prepping for my Sunday school. But in addition to that, I've been also doing for like a year now this project that I started, which is, okay, I named it something really fancy.
Okay.
I looked up the Latin words for through a glass darkly, which in Corinthians it says, for now we see through a glass dimly, but then face to face. This idea that like right now we only barely understand things, but eventually in heaven we'll all understand. And I looked up in Latin how to say that, and in Latin it's perspiculum enigmate, which means through a glass darkly.
Wait. How do you say that?
Perspiculum and enigmate.
Perspiculum
enigmate.
Enigmate.
Yes. So I named my little project Perspiculum enigmate. Although I can't say it, but I do type it every morning when I go to do it. Anyway, and so my project is this. I started out with the Bible in Genesis, and I decided I was going to go through. That's kind of chronologically, but like, this was my idea. I was thinking about how Jesus says that the scriptures are supposed to point us to Him, right? Like, the whole point of the Bible is so that we know the Lord. Like, we're supposed to know the Lord. But a lot of times when we go to read the Bible, we like go for like our own purposes. Like, we want wisdom about finances or marriage, or maybe we want to understand justice, or maybe we want to just learn about David, or we have all these reasons why we go to the Bible. And I was thinking that like sometimes we miss the forest for the trees. Does that make sense? You know?
But what?
The trees.
Have you never heard that cliche before?
That's stupid.
So then
That
you
is
miss
so
the
cute.
what?
The forest for the trees.
Forest
Like,
for the trees.
it means that like sometimes you are looking for the forest, but the trees mess you up because you can't find the forest because the trees are right in front of you. Does that make sense?
You couldn't see the houses because the town was too big?
Yes. Okay, so I feel like the whole point of the Bible is to know the Lord, but we get hung up on all these other things about the Lord. Like, our Christianity prevents us from knowing Christ. I'm not saying that about everybody, but I can feel like that. Anyway, and so I thought, what would happen if I went through the Bible and I read the entire Bible and only specifically focused on who is the Lord? Like, what do these scriptures actually say about who God is? And like looked at Him, kind of like when you go to, like when you're in school and you do like a book report on a character from a novel, and you like read a novel and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do a book report about the villain in this novel, or the main character, or the mother, or whatever. And you you look at that character and then you just think about that. Well, my project, Perspiculum and Enigmate, is I decided to take notes on every single chapter in the Bible and what it says about who God really is. And I started in Genesis, and I've been slowly, I mean, it's taking me forever. I started in March or February last year, and I'm only to the Psalms right now. I'm going chronologically, like, through the Bible. I'm halfway through the Psalms right now. And writing down, like, notes for myself, every chapter of, like, what the chapter says about who God is. And then at the end of every book, I like read back through my notes for the whole book and then make like a summary. So right now I have like my notes are like Genesis through kind of 2 Kings, because chronologically that's where the Psalms fall, like in the middle of Kings and Chronicles, you know. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That's what I do and I do talk to the Lord. I do journal. Like, I have my journal where I talk to the Lord and I write down what He's saying back to me.
This is really tilting.
Yeah, it does keep tilting.
Okay.
Anyway, that's what I do for devotions.
There you go.
Yep.
Nice.
What else? Anything else you guys want to talk about? Your hair is so beautiful, I can't stop.
I had an epiphany for our family.
You had an epiphany? An epiphany.
Big word.
Okay, a big word. Go ahead with your epiphany.
Okay, so we like to say, in the middle of nowhere, right? Like,
Okay.
where we would say.
Yeah, we live in the middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere.
Sure.
What, in the middle of nowhere kind of makes you think, like, you're in the wilderness. Looks like trees, you know.
Would you like to take the camera and pan around and show what we're talking about?
Okay. So I was thinking that, like, we're in the world but not of the world. And we're calling people to a higher, like, calling. Like, we're saying Jesus is
Real.
Like, to know the Lord. Yes.
Yeah, and then I was thinking, like, John was in the wilderness calling people to make way for Jesus.
John the Baptist.
John the Baptist, yeah. Like, so, like, be a voice, like, it says, like, there's a voice, like,
A voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
so I thought of that. Like,
Yeah,
That's very interesting.
Yep. She was talking to me about this the other day, and I was like, I'm not sure if epiphany is the right word for that.
I think it can be an epiphany.
an epiphany is like having a realization of an idea. Like,
Yes.
boom, good. So it
Absolutely.
works.
Okay, I guess it
That's
works.
nice.
I guess.
Wow.
I'll allow it.
That's very interesting. I wonder why John did go out to the wilderness to do that. I mean, you would think if his message was to everybody that he would have gone to town and been like, knock, 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 hey, prepare the way of the Lord. But no, he went out to the wilderness and was doing that.
Boom.
It's very odd. I mean, you want to get into therapy sessions here right now with our family on our video podcast, but one thing I've thought about a lot of times before is like how, like, ever since I was a kid, I've had this desire to like do something big. Like, I've never been very much like, I want to live a contented little life, and like I'm a homebody and an introvert, and I don't really care if I don't do much. Like, no, I'm very much like, I best make a big splash. And I feel like sometimes that I have struggled with that in my life, like, you know, wanting, like, having a desire to do something important or big or major or whatever, but also being content, but also recognizing that the Lord gives us desires sometimes. Like, of course, yes. Like, sometimes I'm like, I just have pride. I just, you know, have to lay down my life and be content with where I am and stop wanting so much. And other times I've been like, no, I think the Lord puts like desires in your heart sometimes because like he has a plan for you. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Anyway, and one time I was thinking about how we live in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's not really the middle of nowhere. It's a beautiful little town. Why don't you flip the camera around and show our beautiful little town that we're driving into right now? It's a snowy, you know, day in January. But you can see this
Jasper.
is our little tiny town. I think we have 2,000 people in is it 40 square miles maybe? I don't remember. But it's a cute little, 2,000 people, which is not a lot of people. There's one little church in our town. There's one little gas station, a little post office, a little tiny library, a school that graduates like 20 kids a year. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that might number might be wrong. Anyway, but yeah, this is our little town. You can put it back down if you want. Anyway, and I was talking to the Lord about living in this little town and trying to come to terms with it. Like, I live, and we're very far away from any other town. Like, we live in New York State, but we're like 7 hours from New York City, and we're like 2 hours from an airport. You know, we're half an hour from Walmart. Like, we're half an hour from McDonald's. We're half an hour from, we're never getting pizza delivered out here, I'll tell you that right now. We are in the middle of nowhere in the sense that like there's no major world events happening near us. Like, this little town is not the scene of anything that the news would ever come to. Unless there was some crazy murders or something.
Mom!
Okay.
Unless I get superpower and I can fly.
Okay, but this is what I was gonna say. I feel like over my 8 years of living here, I've wrestled with that a little bit. Like, how am I supposed to do something important, and how am I supposed to, I don't know, I don't know what, you know what I mean? Like, how am I supposed to fulfill this thing that I have inside of me to do something great if I'm living in the middle of nowhere? You know, you can't build a big business or build a big church or do big things if there's nothing, like if you're just living in the woods by yourself. Anyway, and I felt like the Lord has gradually worked on me, not so much like yes, I've had to like kind of reevaluate my own heart and my own desires, but also to the like with the idea that I feel like the Lord has taught me that he doesn't see things the way we see them. Like he picked little towns like the little town of Bethlehem, and he picks like the opposite of what we think. Like we would pick the beautiful, the intelligent, the rich, the powerful, and he picks the lowly and the little and the nobodies and the nothings. And I don't know what the Lord has in store for us, but I do know that we live where we live. Like Acts 15:29 says, or 16:29,
Whatever.
forget which one, says the Lord determines the exact times and circumstances and places that each person should live, so that maybe they will hear him and call him. And I feel like I have to believe all the time that wherever we live, which right now it's in this little town of Jasper, or outside of the town, that the Lord has a plan for us, and he knows exactly where we are, and it's our job to keep our lamps filled and to do our daily devotions and to hear his voice, and just trust that the little things that we're doing are actually big things. And if there is something bigger in the future, that we are listening to his voice and obeying him in the small ways, so that someday he can call us to something great. And if he doesn't, then
I'm gonna cry.
we'll figure that out too. Anyway, so that was our video today. We are home from ballet. We're gonna go inside and make dinner. Hold on a second. Do you want to see? Look at this. This is what we see when we get home. This is Rebecca. Becky! Rebecca! And this is Katie. They're so excited when we get home all the time. And you can't see the ducks, although the ducks were right in the yard 2 seconds ago waiting to see us. There they are. All right. Bye.